You're ready to roll?
Yeah, am I on?
All right, Jay Abraham is here, and we'll get started.
Okay.
You're going to, just to be clear, you're going to be interviewing Jay and Mike now, right? Putting them
I
on the
am?
hot seat?
Really?
We can find somebody else. Anybody else want to be interviewed by Jay Abraham?
So here's what we're going to do. Thank you. Okay. We're going to do two things if my voice holds out, and I think it will. First is I want to interview Mike and Jay from a perspective that's different, because I think if you're entrusting your heart, your soul, your future to somebody's, it's nice to know as much about them from different contextual places, and I'm going to do it for 10 or 15 minutes, give or take. And they've been good sports and said, okay, and I said, gloves off, but not anything, terribly awkward. But I think it's good for you to know their values from different points of view. Then, if you'd like, we'll take whatever's left, 45 minutes, an hour, half hour. And if you want to ask me any questions, I will try my best to answer them. And if you don't, that's cool too, okay? So let's see what comes. Do we have mics? Are you guys already mic'd up?
We are mic'd up.
I was waiting for some hot water, and it should come momentarily, and then we'll start, okay?
Yep.
So, good break. Everyone's happy. You're learning a lot. This is fun. Can't wait to get back. List more houses, sell more houses, close more deals, get them out of escrow, right? Okay, it's good. Well, I've enjoyed you all, and it's quite fun being around people who have growth orientation, people who have a prejudice towards growth, towards possibilities, towards basically unlimited boundaries. There's a story which I usually tell at the end, but I'm going to tell it now just because I'm waiting for hot water before we start this. And it's a very simple story. It's a quote from a guy who trains high-performance people. And he says most people in business, you are in business, struggle non-verbally with the wrong question. The question they are tormented by, and one of the gentlemen on the podium actually said, like a self-worth question. And he said, we ask ourselves, am I worthy of this goal? Can I really build a real estate business that will support my family, be balanced, endure? Can I really add value to my community? Can I really recruit, develop, grow, build people, culture? He says, actually, absolute, and I'm sucking on a lozenge, so probably if I choke to death, give me artificial something. He says it's the absolute wrong question to ask. The right question to ask, once you realize how much more is possible from your time, your effort, your influence, your impact, your access, your communication, your reach, your levers. The right question to ask now is this goal worthy of me? Because there's so much more you should, could, and must do. I mean, time's ticking, and what you leave, is pretty much your legacy. And you have the chance to do extraordinary things or not. So, okay, I'm not going to wait, but as soon as it comes, I'm going to, here it comes. Run, run, run. Dun, 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 dun. Thank you. I am grateful.
Megan.
Thanks. Whoops, got it. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so here we have two gentlemen who have dedicated how many years together to this endeavor?
Way too many.
Way too many. How many years you been doing this as a collaboration?
6 years?
Yeah, end of 2005.
So 2005, you're minding your own business, doing well, walking along. What happened? How did you decide to even do this, get it started? What was the precipitating factor?
We actually, how it all started was one day I saw a video. I was trying to shoot a video, And as a result of trying to shoot this video, this guy said, "Man, I want to show you this video that this guy sent me." So I went back into this little room, and there was this little box, this little video box, and the guy jumped out. And I was like, "Oh," that was the first time Jay had drove down when we referenced yesterday. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, Jay!" And I could actually make my video over his website. And so we actually started, and I think the transformation.
You were both selling real estate at the
We
time.
were selling real estate, but we were promoting other people's websites. And,
Okay.
and it was as a result of really listening to you and understanding how to set up those types of relationships and understanding those other, revenue streams. And we didn't really start out at being a coaching company. In fact, there was a time that we literally had to wrestle with that. And
Well, we almost became a real estate company, another real estate
Yeah, a
company.
real estate
And I think
broker.
what changed that was your when we met you the very first time when John and I came to Anaheim.
Okay.
Was the same year. So Mike and I were looking to open a company, and we were just going to replicate. We did 500 and something transactions. Mike did 300 something transactions. We felt like we were as fulfilled as we were going to be selling real estate.
Yes.
And then after coming to your event, it was like, what else is there? You know what I'm saying? What else could we
Yes.
do? And it became clear that opening another real estate company was not the answer, because that was just doing more of the same. It wasn't like we were going to affect any more lives,
Yes.
geometrically anyways. So it just gave us a whole new way of thinking, I think.
And actually, before that, we sat in his office and went online and bought a book on how to write a book, because on that plane ride home, we literally, this is truth, we were like thinking, man, it's so easy to be successful. Honestly,
Yeah.
you just have to be coachable. I mean, think about all these people that they don't come to these events. And we were on a plane. We went to 6 different places. We went to Riz Media in New York. We went to Coach Ken in San Francisco. We rode with Russell Rhodes there. Then we went to Craig Proctor in Palm Desert, flew straight to NAR, and then went to Chad Goldwasser's house, where he had the top 50 agents in the United States at his house. We made that whole series of trips in like a 3-week period.
And what was the goal?
The goal was we were just passionate, and we were just out there seeking. And what happened was we would get on the plane and we'd make bets who would have more leads in their email by the time, because you'd have to turn your phone off to get on the plane.
Yeah.
And so when the plane landed, we'd count how many leads, and then whoever had the most leads, and the other person had to buy dinner.
Guess who always won?
Me.
That's funny. So,
And I had the highest conversion.
so okay, so now you're seeking wisdom
Yeah.
everywhere.
Everywhere.
And all this wisdom is bombarding you, and it's probably some of it's conflicting, and some of it makes sense, and some of it is brilliant, and some of it's got holes in it. So how are you putting this all together? What's happening?
I think we just, at that particular time, we're ADD, so we went, I think on Saturday we wanted to write the book, and then on Sunday we were looking in Oklahoma City to start a brokerage.
That's right.
So we were all over the place. Real tactical.
No, but really, what happened? So something must have congealed that made you guys say, wow, let's...
Well, the cool thing was when he's talking about overweb. Does anybody remember overweb, the little walkout video? When Mike showed me that for the very first time, it was over my website. This is like, you didn't even see, YouTube wasn't even really super crushing it. So when I saw Mike on my website, I knew something was wrong. Like, I knew he figured out how to break. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not a computer genius. He found a way to break into my computer. You know what I'm saying? And he's walking on my screen on my website. I said, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. So we thought that was something that was going to be a great tool for real estate agents to be able to increase conversion and generate more leads, have a better lifestyle, that sort of thing, right? The thing we learned was the barrier to entry to going and shooting your own video was so high that it wasn't a product that we could really sell, and it wasn't a product that most people could actually implement. So,
But at this point, interrupting, you're still 2 guys doing real estate and selling shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
pretty much.
And
I didn't mean to be
we
so
were selling cool
vulgar,
shit.
but
It
that's
was
what
cool.
you're doing.
This is true.
Good stuff.
And there's John Young's in the room. What happened was I called up there to try. I called a website company that we're using, and I was like trying to negotiate a reseller deal with them to offer this overweb on all their websites.
Right.
And I was just so passionate, and the guy was just listening to me, and he was a Jay Abraham.
Raving fan.
He was like one of your biggest students. That was when we started talking to him, and then once your name came up, he was like, "Why? If I flew you guys out here, would you come?" We were like, "Yeah, we'll come. Could you come this weekend?" We said, "Yeah, we'll come this weekend." And so we actually flew out there thinking that we were about to land a deal with this website company that had 1,000 customers to put this, offer this to their clients, and maybe we make $15 each one.
Instead, what happened?
When we got there, we start just telling
Well, hold
them.
on. He negotiated the deal for us.
Yeah, we got the baggage claims, and you told
You talked
us,
to John Kitchens on the phone while we were
I
in
don't
there
even remember.
on the way. And
Did I give you good advice?
Yeah,
Yeah, it was great
we
advice.
negotiated 50%.
Oh, I do remember that. Yeah, it was a bad deal for you, and I gave you.
It was.
That's good.
We learned a valuable lesson.
And so then what happened? So you made the deal.
So
Yeah.
we went out there, and the funny thing was,
I forgot
at
about that.
At some point in this conversation, we're like trying to really tell him about this video, and he says, "How would you like to start doing sales for us? We're doing tech. You know, all these guys in here, we do a lot of technology." He says, "My brother-in-law, he's a good salesperson, but you know, really, we don't want to do this. And you know, would it be something that you'd be open to?" It was December 2nd, 2006. And we said yes. He said, "Well, there's one caveat. You would have to have your entire sales team back here on December 14th for training." We didn't have a sales team. We didn't have an office. And there was another caveat.
That didn't
we had
stop
to buy
Mike.
an $18,000 phone system so we could transfer calls back and forth. So we're just saying yes, yes.
No strategy.
Yes, we'll do it. We'll do it. And then we literally get on the plane and we're like, okay, how are we going to do this?
And so what happened?
We hired a bunch of people, and we put our money together, and we flew everybody out to Pennsylvania, and
got lost.
got lost. Like 3 cars full of people, all these different guys. We're hiring people that sell over the phone. You know, we show up, and they're on their game. They have binders, Dunkin' Donuts, coffee. I mean, they're ready to train some salespeople. They're thinking, hey, you know, these guys sell a bunch of real estate. They must have a bunch of good salespeople.
Yeah.
And we're like, what was your name again?
And so what happened?
True.
So we get out there and we sit through this entire training, and then we're doing the math. Like we're like, we could sell 50,000 of these things.
It was the best website there was, period.
At the time.
No question.
And it really was.
Hands down.
Okay.
Best website.
Yeah.
Still is.
Yeah, we thought
It's out there.
we were like, man, we could sell 50,000.
And they were way ahead of their game, too.
Yeah, we thought we could sell 50,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
I still think we could have.
So then what happened?
I know we could have.
Okay. But
Well, what happened was, as a result of that, the market started to shift, so we had to offer training to these people that bought the websites as a result of kind of we didn't have a contract because we didn't know about contracts, and the deal was never really spoke about. We were just in good faith getting paid, and good, you know, after we signed a 5-year lease on a building, and we're kind of committed.
Lesson number 2.
Lesson number 2.
okay.
So we're in this building selling these websites, and really at that point, the guy, we thought he was a little bit of a tyrant, but we actually think he's a genius now.
He's a genius tyrant.
A genius tyrant, but he wasn't the
compliment.
easiest guy to work for. His bar was like this high, so he like forced us. He wasn't taking any BS. So since we were committed to this 5-year lease, this $18,000 phone system, and all these employees, it was like, you know, it wasn't, you could not miss meetings. It wasn't, I mean, it wasn't uncommon for us to be on a conference call at midnight.
Yeah.
And I'll just remember
Wow.
the phone ringing
Or-
and be like,
yeah.
oh. And we're sitting over here, y'all only sold, 30. I thought y'all were gonna sell 50. Y'all only sold, you know, we just got into a situation where we were just selling websites, and in order to really provide value, and he was a student of yours, he didn't suggest, he really gave us
Dictated.
good advice, but told us if you want to continue to get paid, then you're going to start at least doing 2 training calls for
So you had to service and help
Service, you're gonna
the people use
He told us
and
that
benefit.
was part of the
Yeah.
contract that we didn't have.
Yeah.
But that was going to be one of the things that was going to be in that contract. And
So what happened?
We started servicing them.
Yeah.
And I think from that point, we didn't really understand anything else except that our goal was to get on the phone call and just teach everyone who bought this website as much as we could.
Yeah.
And that's how it all really started.
And they did well.
Yeah, they did well. It was a good site. There was good systems, but at the time, we didn't have them. You know, our revenue came from as a result of people buying websites, not coaching. We weren't focused on the coaching
So,
side.
but there has to be a pivotal point.
Yeah.
We didn't have a
Into-
vision. We didn't have a
Yeah.
mission. We didn't have core values.
Something
we didn't
changed.
have strategy.
Yeah.
We
So-
were just completely randomly nailing boards together. Hope was our strategy.
Okay, and that's an interesting visual. Okay, but something changed. What, when, how, and why?
At a default, when you put your name on a piece of paper and you got to pay rent and you have people that work for you, that trust you, that you feel obligated to, then you're either committed or you're not. And at that time, I think we just started reading every book we could read, brainstorming everything. I mean, it was not uncommon for me to drop everything I was doing, and me and Jay lock our room. We started not knowingly, unconsciously becoming strategic because we could not fail.
Okay.
And
But you're still doing websites.
we're still doing websites.
Okay. But something happened beyond it. So now
Well,
you were very successful with websites.
A situation happened with the website.
And I know this. I'm just trying to get you to.
We stopped getting paid the revenue from the website, and
Yes.
it represented a significant percentage of the revenue for maybe 80% of the revenue for Kinder Reese.
But you still,
at
I
the time.
bet, had the obligations.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right. So now you've got obligations without revenue.
95% of our revenue came from two sources that both in probably a 90-day period stopped paying us. And we didn't even have a credit card machine to sell someone something if we wanted to.
Okay. So you were totally dependent on them.
Everybody.
Okay. So now you're in crisis mode. What happened?
We get strategic.
Yeah.
How?
I mean, we went into a room. We didn't know we were being strategic, I would say, but
Yeah.
we were being strategic as we could be. I mean, there were Post-it notes all over the wall. We were just thinking through every single possible goal. But what really happened is it was what this guy told us is you guys got to figure out what you want to be when you grow up. And we hired a consultant that said, Kim Addis, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she said we paid her a day consulting fee, like $2,500 for an hour or something crazy. And what ended up happening is she said, y'all are the product. And we were like, huh? Yeah, you can't be selling websites if this is your passion. And they started aligning all those things that we're talking about. And as those things started to align, you know, we started saying, well, this is what we're passionate. We just started thinking not only about the present, but the future and making sure that, you know, we didn't end up at the top of the ladder against the wrong wall.
Okay. And so then what happened? So now you're getting clarity, you're getting vision, you're reconciling with what's important to you, but what about was it important for you? I'm not trying to put words, I mean, about what was important to you in the market.
What we realized was this, that we had, is anybody in the room as a result of being a Web Agent Solutions client from the beginning? Okay? Though, thank you for being
3
here.
or 4.
We knew from the feedback that we were changing people's lives, we were adding value.
Okay.
And we basically made the transition to becoming a coaching and consulting company. And that was the transition. It was forced, and we were forced into what we were at, and that was the transition that we made, was to becoming a coaching and consulting company. We were forced to create the product
What
of being a
happened
coach.
was I called Jay. I was sitting at my kitchen table. We were being strategic over the phone. I said, man, I'll call you right back. I went to the gym, and I got to the front desk, and I turned around and went back home because just something was uneasy, and I started Googling. And I said, Jay, I called Jay back up. I said, you know what? Do you know Dan Kennedy sells a $2,000 product on how to build a coaching consulting business?
Oh, that's right.
And then Jay, literally, before we hung up that phone, Jay had already bought it. So the same principles that we apply now, we just seek the best to be the best, invest in ourselves, find the people, don't reinvent the wheel, find the smart skill. All the things that we're saying, we were just doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now you get this program, and his work is good, and it gives you a context. So then what happens? A framework. I mean, you know, everything starts with, you know, with at least a rough vision. So now you got a framework. Good, bad, doesn't matter. I'm not, casting aspersions or anything. I'm just saying you got a framework. Now what happens?
We had a tremendous amount of content that we had to put together just from doing these weekly coaching calls. So we had a ton of content. We didn't have a platform for coaching.
Was it congruent? I mean, did it
was
have
all-
a beginning and an end and things like that?
No, it didn't have a beginning and
Okay.
end at all. We were not at all strategic in that
Okay.
way. But what we did know was, because we had been in every coaching program, we've been around the country in every possible place, we've bought everything that you could possibly buy, was that the coaches that were out there that were teaching coaching and that were charging a whole lot of money were not delivering business principles. They
And
were
I know
delivering-
who a lot of them were.
Yeah, and they're all
I
great,
agree.
because I bought and learned from all of them.
And they all were mostly defaulting towards tactical thinking.
Yes.
Most of them would have one tactic that was the whole genesis of what they taught.
Yep.
And they had 18 different ways to do that one tactic. So what did that tell you you had to do, and why?
Essentially, I'm passionate. I care about this industry. I love real estate. I love helping people to go from point A to point B and change their life. It's something that fulfills me. But I knew that we could help people do it better than anyone else. I just knew
And
it.
that's a cool statement coming on the chair when you have 500 people in a room, but fast backward, now you got this realization, you got $2,000 on your credit card, you got this CDs and videos and books or whatever he's saying.
But here's one of the mistakes we made before that I just remembered. Before we flew, the day before we flew out to land that what we thought was a video deal, we went to breakfast with the video guy, and we had just bought him a brand new Hummer because we thought this video deal was going to work out. And we had asked him, our philosophy was, we asked him if we could help you get whatever it is you want, what would it be? And he pointed outside and he said, I would want one of those. And me and Jay's Hummers were in the parking lot matching. So Jay put the deal together and got this guy a black Hummer, got it down to Frisco, and we go to La Peeps for breakfast because we couldn't even make a website. We offered a guy half of our company if he'd just make us a landing page, you know what I mean? Like, we were just like, so technically we couldn't do a video. And this guy did a video where we walked out on the internet. We're like, you want a Hummer? Done. So Jay gets a Hummer, drives it down. We're like 26 years old. We walk out of La Peeps. We throw him the keys, get on the plane, and end up taking this whole other opportunity and never even do anything with this guy. And like, it's like a year later, we're like, hey, what happened to that black Hummer?
Well, that's funny. That is funny. Okay, so I want to keep you because we got to get you back to here.
Yeah.
Got to serpentine you back to these chairs. So now you got deal blows up, 2 deals blow up. You got this course on coaching. You got all this content that isn't really necessary. It's great, but not congruent. And then
we really start studying what you have to do to be successful. What are the core competencies of the people?
What did you discover as you went through that?
You have to be able to have a list. You have to have customers. You have to, and customers.
You guys don't think about clients, no?
Customers didn't. What really was, we went to this thing and Sky told us about this deal called Jekyll Island. It was The Creature of Jekyll Island. Okay. And it was an audio tape, and it was about how there was no such thing as money. We were at a Frank Kern conference in San Diego on the roof of Hard Rock Cafe with some of the most amazing young entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Just like spending money, and we were like envious of them. They're like, these guys are amazing.
Yes.
And one of them walks up to us named Sam Bell, and he tells me the story. I said, Jay, you got it.
Yeah.
And he said, listen, everything changed for me when this happened. When I realized that there was no such thing as money. Money is something that people trade for value. And that my goal in life became to bring as much value as I could to one person, and then to learn to do that to as many people as possible.
Very profound.
And so, yeah, it was a light went off, and you stop. Once you learn, like we just talked about that. We flew back, we talked about it, and then it became our filter. You know what I mean? Like, that's not bringing value. Does that bring value? How can we bring more value? Everything's shifted when we just started focusing, and it's what you teach, but it's when you continue to see it being demonstrated. And you say success principles, failure principles, success principles, and you start identifying that it's not just talk. People actually operate this way. So we adapted that as one of our ways of doing business, and then things just started transcending because we started moving closer and we started doing things that we liked, and you started getting that reward and all those good feelings. And then next thing you know, you're literally helping a guy out because you truly are passionate about helping him. And it's not about the end, and it's kind of having that filter and that position in which you look at all your opportunities and the things that you do.
Okay, but still, we got you now with Sam Bell giving you a revelation, but you still don't have a coaching business, or did you? No.
We had some coaching clients.
Okay, but would you sort of just impromptu coaching them?
We basically, it was a completely different model, and we started out that way because we knew that that's what nobody else did. Everyone else said, here's the coaching program, you join here, no matter where you're at, they don't even care where you're at, they don't even ask where you're at, and then you end up here, and then you're done, or whatever the case may be.
What was your model when you started?
Our model was, where are you, where do you want to go? Reverse engineer how to get there based on what I had done successfully and what Mike had done successfully. It was just that simple.
So it was a good
For us,
foundation.
it was simple.
Then you started doing that, and you had some clients.
Yeah.
And then what happened? But is that before you realized value in the concept?
Just being transparent, it just kept happening. So we started studying Eben Pagan, and it was about pushing the free line and don't charge everybody for anything. Really try to bring value, and there was this whole thing. So we just started studying people that were where we wanted to be, and started finding out how they got there. And
I would say that this is the value was from day one, though. What we did tactically to deliver that value.
You didn't understand that you had a force and a power that you didn't understand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So then what?
Well, after that, when we came back from San Diego, we started continued to randomly nail boards together.
Yep. And then?
We got really good with the hammer.
That's funny.
Yeah, made a lot of mistakes and did a lot of stuff right. And I think what Jay was hitting at is we started discovering that we needed a model, honestly.
We were in a business that we never had been in.
And how did you evolve your model, and what were the basis of it, and what was the process?
How do we evolve the model?
We looked outside of our industry. We looked at what other people were doing and identified different opportunities.
For example?
There was a guy who was bringing value to the personal trainers. There was people that were bringing value to single guys. There's all these other ways that people were doing it and delivering value with different distribution channels, different philosophies. We just started studying every single person and trying to find out how could we accomplish what we were doing using the same tools and techniques that they did. And so
But
we were continuing to seek.
Yeah.
I get that, and it's very impressive. But you had to have formulated and evolved the business model that there's two models. One is the model you operate that generates your revenue and your clients. But then there's the model that you teach that is the foundation that everybody, okay, you understand the difference?
Yeah.
We started with differentiation, to be honest with you, because we wrote a report called The Death of Real Estate Coaching.
What was the premise?
And the premise was, when we wrote the book,
I like that.
Coachable, is we had paid so many coaches so much money, and we hated the coach that if you were in the room and no matter where you were in your business, this was the product for you. What happens if somebody has this problem or has this budget? We didn't want a one-size-fits-all. We wanted something where you actually broke down someone's business and built a plan. We wanted to truly bring value to the person. And what happened for me is when I saw a guy that was in a room that had just gotten to real estate, and they let this guy in a high program that he had no business doing it, and that's not bringing value. And so we wrote this report called The Death of Real Estate Coaching, and literally brainstormed all the things we didn't like and why people do the certain things, and then we put it out there on the internet.
What happened?
We got letters from almost every real estate coaching attorney.
And what did they say? Cease and desist?
Oh,
They said,
didn't like it.
Don't buy my name and pay-per-click and put it there.
Yeah.
And?
Lesson number 3.
Yeah.
So then what? So now you're defending litigation left and right.
It's.
So we took the ad down.
Okay,
We
and
did.
then?
We didn't want to have to fight any fights.
Okay, but your premise was correct.
We
You're
were
basically
very
saying-
passionate about what our belief was. Our belief was that unfortunately most real estate agents just don't know how to do it. What we had learned from you, Pillars, the Power Parthenon, referrals, like all of the things that you teach, I knew that no one else knew that. I knew no one else knew that. And we knew how to get people from point A to point B faster than anyone else, and we knew no one else was doing it the way we were doing it. And we just continued to try to evolve that. But as we continue to seek everything that we do in real estate, we continue to try to make it better. Even though,
There's also a wild card that most people don't understand. And we were talking about this, excuse my voice, at dinner. And I've had the, I guess, interesting fortune of helping a lot of people who are real estate coaches over 30 years. And almost all of them, not criticizing them, but just being clinical, the moment they became successful, they abandoned selling real estate, and then they spent the next 20 years theoretically selling coaching without really having a laboratory other than they did have their clients, but they really weren't doing it themselves. And you guys kept doing it yourselves, did you not?
To the point that it was a detriment that could have caused the whole company to fail.
Meaning what?
Meaning, the financial resources that we had to pump into the business to keep it going.
In the beginning.
In the beginning was, financial.
It didn't go
strain.
like that.
No, there was, I don't think we ever even made.
We didn't make our first conference. We didn't even charge, and it cost us $28,000 to get out.
So you just subsidized it.
Yeah.
We didn't
Why?
have something to sell. We didn't have a credit card machine. We literally wanted to see if we could put people in the
And
room.
so you just wanted to basically have a forum, and it worked.
Yeah. At the end of the deal, we literally.
We created some raving fans, I think.
Yeah. At the end of the first deal, because we wanted to see if we could do this event. So we do the event. We don't even have literally an email list. We're not even collecting names or business cards, violating all the best practices. And we were like, man, if we ever do that again, we're gonna have to charge. This was kind of expensive, at least to subsidize the cost.
Now, did you have a lot of clients then?
We filled up. I had about 200 people in the room,
Yep.
and brought them tremendous amount of value. But we got a taste.
That was our test to see if could we do a conference.
Yes.
Is it even possible?
And that worked.
And it worked.
And they
But
got value.
It didn't really work, but it worked.
But it worked from the embryonic stage where you
It
were at
kept
the
us
time.
passionate on this path.
Yeah.
You know,
okay.
we
So
can
then
do
what
this.
happens? So now you guys meet and you're saying who's gonna pay the American Express card, and then what?
I would pay it, and we
And
would
you pay it, okay.
move on.
I like that kind of partnership. You incur it, he pays it.
Yeah.
Look, I like that. Let's go out drinking.
Yeah.
So
You
Go ahead.
have to know, Mike. Like when you're talking about going to what was it that we went to? Oh gosh, one of the conferences we went to. Mike was so cheap that in the taxi cab with San Francisco, in the taxi cab, Mike literally would pretend like he was answering his phone. The taxi, it was his turn to pay in the taxi cab. He gets on the phone, opens the door, gets out at a stop sign, and starts walking up the street, the one last block to the hotel. And I'm like, I just told him he had to pay. So like he's walking, and I just know Mike well enough to know he ain't on the phone. He's just pretending like he's having this conversation.
Pretty
And
funny.
I've seen it when there's no light on the other side. You know, I know he's not
That's
talking to
funny.
somebody. And Mike was trying to get up into the hotel, and the taxi cab pulled up right next to him, right as he was by the front doors. And I was like, Mike, it's your turn to pay. But that's all right. That was just our relationship.
That's
That's how
hilarious.
long it took me to dragging him
I
to
remember-
see invest in yourself. It was
I
a huge
remember-
revelation for him.
I remember going to dinner and being like, man, I hope he pays.
attitudinal or financially?
Financially.
Okay.
I was cheap, and it was.
It was tough. It was tough. It was a stress. But we felt like there's no way we can teach if we're not doing this. If we're not doing it and we're not evolving and changing, how are we going to know if something works or not? How do you prove that it does or doesn't work?
And to your credit, you've kept doing that. And so how did you, because everyone thinks that success, and you guys all know this, even the ones that are sitting up here doing X and the man that wants 250, you very rarely, unless you're very fortunate, are going to go from 0 to 250. And if you've got whatever number of clients, I'm very impressed, and you've got a very, very, very solid, brand currency, and I'm impressed. But that doesn't, like mine, people say, oh man, well crap, I've been doing this 35 years. I've been doing this around the world. Be nice to, but if you go backwards, what was the defining factor that started really the momentum moving for you?
The momentum for Kinder Reese moving forward?
Yeah. Because you're growing and you're having great impact, and you've got a cadre of very impressive people
Getting the right team together.
Yeah.
in terms of.
The people who work at Kinder Reese. It was just.
Now I'm impressed with all of them. I got to tell you,
How about the
they're
Kinder
very,
Reese staff,
very
everybody?
impressive.
They deserve a hand. They're amazing.
But
We would
that
not be here
goes-
without them. There's no
that
question.
goes directly to the question the gentleman had, excuse my voice, culture, leadership.
absolutely.
So what did you learn as you're evolving this about culture, leadership, collaboration?
Culture is number one.
And what does it mean to you?
When it comes down to what it is that we do, everyone has to be on the same page. And anytime that you don't have somebody that's bought into the vision first, of where it is that we want to go, what it is that we do, what we're about, what we mean to, what this company means to so many people. And I can tell you, everyone in this room that at Kinder Reese, everyone that has been in contact with you throughout this whole process, they know that they have the opportunity to potentially change your life by being here and experiencing and what many others have as you come through the program and whatnot. And that's just what matters. But in the office environment, it's a different environment. It's a lot of hustle and work and a lot of effort and a lot of late nights. And I think Gina stayed up all night one night. But it's commitment to something we all have bought into together.
And what if your life depended on it, and it's higher than a USP, and it's different than a mission statement. What do you think the meaning of your life as coaches really comes down to, if you were going to explain it, define it, and articulate it?
In our strategic plan at Kinder Reese that's posted on the wall, it says to be the turning point in a real estate agent's career. So no matter where they are, because there's people that have been doing real estate for 10 years, never broke 20 deals. They're in
Actually,
this room,
we
and-
changed that though. It was to be the turning point in a person's life,
In a person's
because
life, we
it
did.
also
Really, it
includes
was
the
the
people
agent,
that
but
work
the-
at
So you
Kinder Reese.
transcended it.
Yeah,
Okay,
so that it
good.
included the people that work there.
And we're impacted too.
And-
Okay. I'm going to, only because we have 30 minutes and I might have less with my voice, I'm going to ask you two two related questions, each of you. What do you think the lessons you just shared are for everyone here that can be totally and completely reapplied to their real estate? And what question did I not ask each one of you that I should have, not because it would have been a fun answer, but because it would have been a very, very, stimulating and actionable answer for them? Okay, go ahead. You first.
In all fairness, it was culture. And the next speaker, Alex Sharfin, let me come to his office back in December. And we actually were virtual. And I saw his office, and I just saw how everybody was working there. And I saw culture. The only place that I had actually seen I've seen culture, but I saw a whole thing that I never knew even existed.
And could you sense it? That there was an electricity in you?
When I walked in, I wanted to work there.
He called me up and told me, he said I would have walked barefoot through glass to get there.
Yeah, it was December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas.
But he always hypes
December
everything
22nd.
like that, so you never know.
I flew in that night.
Wow.
Alex said that I could come in. I walk in, I sit in the lobby. They're in their executive huddle. Everything's just running like a well-oiled machine. Then I look over, and there's all these people, all these stations. It was called Monster Monday, and they were about to do their huddle, and then I think it was like Tupac came on, and I was like, what? And I was doing this, and then someone came by and tossed me an energy drink. I was like, I don't feel like I'm at work.
Yeah.
And I wanted to recreate that, and we were going virtually. We were virtual.
And you
and I
changed
came
it.
back.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think everyone hated me, but I was like, no, we're not going to get there without culture, where people want to, because people got to want it, and I believe that we had to bring everybody back in, because what it's going to take to get to where we're trying to go, we would lose culture, and it would just be a job from somebody's home.
Yeah. I love that. Okay, what question should I have asked you?
What question for me or Jay?
You're still on the podium.
The only thing that I do know is that I heard an audio, and you can tell the story better than I, but what really put it in perspective is Jay called me up and told me a story about a guy that if you got there, remember, and you already had it, what would it cost for you to sell it, right? And just really thinking about, when you get around amazing, first of all, I believe that the big change was the who before the what, Jim Collins. And then
Right people was a huge
getting
thing.
around the right people. If you get in a mastermind, which is, we're in two masterminds, but if you get around a mastermind group, the right group of people will suck
you to the top.
up to their level.
Yep.
No
Literally,
question.
they will turn I've went into a room with challenges and walked out and been like, holy smokes, that you can't quantify how valuable that information was. This was the most valuable information I could ever have. So, one of the things that I think is the power of the mastermind, which is not anything new, but having that core group of people
Think
that
and
are
Grow Rich
like-minded.
last chapter.
Yeah.
Good.
So that
okay,
was huge for
great.
me.
What do you think the lesson or lessons from what you just shared most applicable to everyone's life, career, and life here? And what question should I have
I
asked
think it
you?
all starts at the top with vision. You have to have a vision for your life. You have to have something that you want to accomplish. And once you've identified what the vision is, then everything else kind of starts to align. Once you determine what it is you want for your life, no matter how far out it may be, determining what your purpose is and your vision for that is what really, I think,
I like that.
makes it happen. Because like when Mike went to see Alex Sharfin's office, and then I eventually went a few weeks later, we saw what could be. We saw what we potentially could do. It helped us to pull us up to that level, just like Mike's saying. It was like, okay, now we see how that's possible, even more possible, and it helped to get us to moving on the right track towards that vision. So,
What question did I not ask you?
what question did you not ask me?
That I should have,
That would
for
be
the
most
benefit of
valuable?
them,
Yeah,
not...
Sure. That's a great question.
That was it.
You should already know the answer to that one, right?
It's a good question for you guys to remember, because it
Yeah, it is.
usually
It's
it
stimulating a
evokes
lot of
really...
thought, yeah.
Well, let me ask you different. You can have a free pass. So
Pass.
let me ask you one more ancillary question, and then we got 10, 15 minutes, and you can ask questions of whomever if you guys want. If this was the last exposure you ever had to everybody in this room, they weren't clients, they weren't coming to anything else, what's the one most powerful realization or lesson or haunting and just, ever evident sort of a realization or a concept you wish they would each get from you? Really, each one of you separately.
For me, and it goes back to, I remember when I wanted my first, when I saw Jay and his bow and the cards, really taking the time to really define what you want your life to look like, because you got to be careful what you wish for, and you're gonna have to say no more than you say yes. And I believe truly that you can engineer any life that you want. And a guy by the name of Frank Kern had a deal called Core Influence, where he made you go through this exercise of really saying, what do you want your house to look like? What do you want? And when I saw people in the audience writing it down, it wasn't really the first time I was like, oh, that's a waste of time. But then one day I actually, took the time to do it. And once you're, it's almost once you have to be able to actually have thought of all those things.
Yes.
And that helps. That's kind of like the fuel that gets you there.
Yeah, I agree.
And so I think it's worth the investment to really take the time to, how many days a week do you want to work? Because we sat in a room with a guy, and I'll never forget, we were going one direction, and it was an opportunity of a lifetime. And the guy was like, this is a $900 million opportunity. And we took him to the airport. We stopped at PF Chang's. We went back into the room.
It could have been potential lesson number 8 or 9.
And we're sitting there, and we put 3 days in with this guy. And I looked, and I thought about my getting married, and I thought about having a kid, and I thought about the lake. And I was like, that seems like a lot of work, man. I don't see much time at the lake on that plan.
Yeah.
I was like, I'd rather stick with our current plan. So really just, understanding that you can engineer whatever life that you want, but, you have to actually have taken the time, because you're exactly where you are because of the choices you've been making.
And you hit something. One of the things I didn't say about Steve Jobs, you might have, he said no many, many more times than he said yes. And he didn't go all over. He went where it was the most strategic. Very good.
That's a lesson it took a while for us to learn, but
you learned it. That's
very
good.
powerful.
So what do you want everyone to, if this is it?
It's definitely, it goes back to determining what your why is. What is it that you want? If you know what that is, it's the beginning. Everything comes back to the why. What is, because that's what's going to drive you. When at the end of the day, when it's you've had a long day and you have a choice to quit or keep going, the only thing that's going to make the difference between mediocrity and greatness is that extra call, that extra push, knowing why you're doing it. Whether it's for your family, for more freedom, which ultimately I believe is ultimately what we all want, is just more freedom. You have to have that very clearly visualized in front of you every single day, reminding you what it is that you're doing all this for.
That's both were great answers. Piece of history, and it's not trying to steal the thunder, it's trying to draw a conclusion. The first $15,000 and $20,000 seminars, my voice is going, that I ever did, people thought I was crazy, because first thing I would do, for 3 hours, I'd make everybody in the room stand up and introduce themselves to everybody. And they're paying 15 grand. And they tell them who they were, where they were from, why they were there, their biggest hope, dream, frustration. Then the next 3 hours, and I was very low self-esteem when I started as far as public. I would sit in a chair and look at the ceiling. For the next 3 to 5 hours, I'd tell people my life story and why it was relevant. And my partners thought I was crazy. Everyone's going to leave. I said, no. When they understand the basis behind it, they will appreciate more what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and why it's relevant. The more you know about the drive and the motivation of everybody, the better off you are. If you've never shared your life, your adventure, your beliefs with your team, probably worth doing. Anyhow, we have about 10 minutes, and I have about 8 of voice. If you would like to ask them or me any question, you are welcome. And I don't know how you do it because I can't see. So what do they do? Is there a mic anywhere?
Yep.
Okay.
Just raise your hand.
Raise your hand if you have a question for anybody.
Jay, oops.
You gotta
What's
say
up?
which Jay.
Oh,
Doesn't
I
matter.
wanted to
I'm
ask Jay
assuming it's
Kinder a
that one.
question.
Sure.
Jay, you had said that it all starts with vision and having that vision. Looking back, you guys have been doing this for about 6 years now. You talk about 3-year visions, 5-year visions. Have you reached your vision? Has your vision changed, or was it the same now as when you started?
You know, the vision has never changed. I mean, it's all about how do we add as much value to one person's life and do that as many times over and over again. And I think what has evolved, it's not something that I was like, okay, we want to do a certification, or we want to start an associate. That wasn't the vision, but it was kind of how the vision has evolved, is how do we do that? And as long as we've run everything through the right filter of, is it going to add the most value to everyone in this room? And we always do that before we say yes or no to an opportunity. That's the filter we run things through. And to me, the real estate industry is just broken. It's just broken. And it's not a matter of if it's going to be destroyed, it's a matter of when. And we were talking about this at lunch, actually, and in the 4-Hour Work Week, which is a great book by Timothy Ferriss, he tells a story about going and taekwondo or whatever it is in another country, and he actually cuts weight down 20 pounds to fight in this, and he's only been doing it for a couple of years, and he's fighting in the international championship, and there was no rules in place for being for cutting weight and then pushing people basically off of the platform. And if you did it 3 times, it was a TKO and you won. He actually won the international title, and it had never been done before that way. And a lot of people looked at it as, oh, well, do you really want to do that? That's like cheating, that's manipulation. But what his point was in telling the story was that the change was going to happen eventually. Now it's just that's how they fight now. It's just how it evolved. Now they do it at every single championship. People cut weight, they try to muscle them off the platform, and that's just how it works now. But he initiated that change in that process. And he was a visionary, and I just believe that there's a place for us to belong, and there's a place for the average real estate to belong, and that we can affect more people's lives and consumers' lives in a positive way in doing that. And the vision has never changed. It's only evolved and gotten better, I would say. Yep.
If I can, I wanted to rather make a comment, if I could. I've been going to real estate seminars for a decade, and I've been looking at you guys from the cursory for almost 3 years. I'll tell you what I'm most impressed about. True character of a person is how they react to bad news or bad times. You've had some rough patches in my 2.5 years as I've gone through from Inner Circle to Rockstar to others, and I'm amazed at every single time from you too, personally picking up phone calls when I call. You're always willing to be accountable, correct it, and after that only make it better. And I think that is what makes you guys very special. So
Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
I can't see anything else. Oh, there.
You
Okay.
take their calls and not mine? That's so uncool.
I totally get how you you have that vision and you buy into it. How do you sell it? How do you sell your vision to the people around you? What do you promise them?
That's an interesting question. I don't guess I don't look at it as trying to sell vision. I think you guys probably may have noticed I don't try to sell. I think you lead by example, and you try to put the right people around you that believe in you, and you try to add as much value to their lives, and then that's how you lead. And for me, I guess I'm very passionate, but I don't try to sell the vision. I believe in it. I'm going there, and hopefully I'll inflict enough value to the people around me that people will follow. That's kind of how I look at it.
Guys, I have sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a question. You guys have a good synergy, obviously, and you have been working together for 5-6 years. How do you, I think either yourselves or Jay said something about environment is more important than will, and that the right people will suck you up. How do you locally, I know you do the calls, and obviously you have a kind of virtual relationship, Oklahoma, Texas, phone calls. if you're local and you're just in an environment where the office sucks and it's just energy vampires killing you, how do you get a mastermind in your local geographic? Is that the key to maintaining that environment, or is the virtual phone line able to give you that, whale or synergy? Do you need that to stay in that top echelon?
I think
cultivate that.
Mike. I have to give Mike a lot of credit. He's really good with relationships and creating relationships with key people that that can help us, that are above us and that are like us, that are like-minded. I think getting around those people, more importantly, it's getting around the people that are where you want to be, right? So like if there's people locally in your market that are doing exactly what it is that you want to do, which may or may not be the case depending on your market, then that would be a good place to mastermind. If not, then you've got to find out where those people hang out, and you got to get there and you got to build relationships with them, and you got to go there with the idea of, hey, I want to add as much value to their lives, and hopefully I can learn some things along the way. And when I say I'm not the smartest kid in class, I always sit next to them. I mean that. I mean, you try to find those people and spend as much time as you can with them, but don't, that's a giver giving to you, and then you got to pass that value along too. It's just part of, it's part of what, what happens in that. And I think, everybody here, Brent Gove, Curtis Johnson, these are all guys that I've learned from. They get fulfillment out of giving. It's all about giving. And that's what's really fulfilling, I think, about what we do here is it's all about giving back. I mean, but you want to find those people that are like that, and you want to surround yourself with them as often and as much as you can.
And I'll give an example. I every Friday, I mean, how powerful has my Friday breakfast affected this event?
Oh man, unbelievable.
So, like Nomad Productions, who helped us put on this event, thank you so much.
That's been amazing.
And it was as a result of I do a Friday breakfast with Ali, Sean, and usually y'all get a text and they'll say, I have to drive an hour and 15 minutes to get to this breakfast place. And so it's almost like my commitment because it's that important. And so it started as really with my dad, because I felt bad. My dad wanted to hang out and I didn't really have that much time, and so I was like, hey, well, meet me for breakfast on Friday. And then I was like, well, how about this? Someone else would call me and I'd say, is Jana in the room? Raise your hand. So maybe she's not.
Yeah, she's over there, right there.
Jana, she's met me for breakfast. I mean, there's probably, probably 15 people in here. And what I just did is I just started going, they know my name, they know where I sit. Whether no one was going to be there, I just started going to Friday breakfast at the original Pancake House. And then what happened was Emmett Smith's brother started coming. The table started getting bigger. Then what we decided is we were going to read a book called The Irrefutable Laws of Branding. You remember that, Ali? And everybody bought the book, and then we would talk about the book. And it was just like it wasn't that anybody was, it was just people that were at least at the same mindset that had a desire to grow. That was the only, if you had a desire to grow, whether you were mowing grass or, selling real estate, if you had a desire to grow, then we hung out at breakfast and we talked about, the things that we talked about. Where the game changed for me on a business side of things was when we started masterminding at the higher end level, which unfortunately it was an investment, but when we first did it, and when we first made the investment in our mastermind, in the room of the application to join the mastermind, in the room for the application, we learned something from one guy from Canada who was selling homes in Florida that far exceeds the investment we made in that mastermind. And so once we got in that mastermind, we invested in another mastermind, which is
You have to understand, this is the guy that was jumping out of cabs to not pay a $5 fare.
It was the best thing he taught me.
The evolution of Mike Reese as a person seeing the value of spending a tremendous amount of money on something is quite impressive.
Yeah.
It was really, really a long lesson for him to learn.
It took me a long time, but I
didn't have a problem with it.
I saw on Facebook it said, what happens if you woke up today with only the things you thanked God yesterday for? And so I was in the shower, I was like, man, that's a huge thing. So I started thanking God. I was like, thanks for my health, thanks for my son, thanks for... But I thank God for Jay being so, helping me in that, because that's a disease. If you aren't willing, if I wouldn't have learned that, I would have been a whole lot of talent, but I wouldn't have got there. I know for a fact.
Yeah.
Jay Abraham asked you guys what brought you to this place today, the stage, Jay and Mike. When a person comes to a certain awareness in life, which maybe it's a mental problem or not, you wake up one morning, you set your path, a strategic goal for your business that you're in real estate, and all of a sudden you're driving down the street and you say, hey, I think I'm going to do this condo project. I think I'm going to be a land developer. I can do that. And you have all these opportunities, like you guys said, right? You start to notice and you start jotting down. You got like a list of like 90,000 different businesses and opportunities that all of a sudden you never saw before. How do you channel that, or how do you make a decision? What's the next time to make that move? Because it
It's real
takes you off
simple.
rail a little bit, whether you call it
Here's the
ADD
deal.
or not.
Jay said it a minute ago, and we echoed it. You have to say no more than you say yes. The only way you know to say no is to run it through the filter of, is it going to get me further away from my goal of where I want to be, my vision for my life, or is it going to be closer? And you run it through that filter of where you want to be and your core values, and that's important. It has to resonate through all of your core values, what's important to you, and then that's how you say yes or no.
Good. There's one more. Okay, sure. Last one.
That's for Jay Abraham. Who did you mastermind with, or who are the influential people who made a difference in your life? And the other question is, becoming successful, how did you incorporate your family into your success?
Both great questions. I've been blessed in my life by two different factors. When I was young, I was uneducated and I was desperate to try to figure out what to do with my life, and I was very inquisitive. I lived in Indianapolis, and a lot of entrepreneurs who were very successful found me intriguing enough they would let me sit in the corner of their office all day and watch what they did in business. And I had no money. They would take me out to lunch and they would tell me what happened. I'd work all night to pay the family bills. I had a lot of influences. As I got older, I was in very propitious times, but because of what I do, I had the very unusual good fortune of helping about 300 different very, very well-known business and achievemental experts, everyone from Tony Robbins, Deming, the world's top multi-variable testing, 8 different sales trainers, 8 different effectiveness coaches, and none of them came to me for help with their methodology. They came to me for help getting it valued, being more distinctive, being preeminent, figuring out different ways to articulate, demonstrate their value. But I had to learn all their beliefs, and I had to process. And I had a guy that was really the strategy of preeminence, which is pretty defining, was a result of efforts and work I did with Phillips Publishing. They were living that, and they were just knocking everybody else they competed against for a loop. In 1980, I was successful just from drive, but I didn't have a context of understanding. In 1976, the company I was running, Entrepreneur Magazine, when nobody knew what Entrepreneur was, and we brought in a guy who was the preeminent master of direct marketing at the time, and we paid him back then a lot, 15 grand for a day. This is 35, 40 years ago. And he gave me a bibliography, and they were all the great masters of the early 1900s, and this is before the internet. So we basically, I spent every dime I had to have books found, because you couldn't just go and go, hey, use copy $9. It was $900 for the same thing when I was younger. But I had people who, I think if you're fortunate enough, quality people see within you something worth investing in. And I remember I had a guy that, I have a lot of very disparate skills. One of them is I've done, between me and friends, $500 million worth of barter. Well, a guy who was probably the world's preeminent barter expert, when I was first starting out in California, didn't have a pot to piss in, he traded for the old Western White House. He had the house that Peter Lawford had, and he traded stuff for it. And I remember I couldn't afford even the gas. Every Sunday he would call and say, come on down, I'll give you coupons he traded for gas, and he'd give me with my family coupons so we could go have dinner, and he would spend hours giving me like a lecture. A guy who was the godfather of direct response, thought I was interesting character, and he'd fly to wherever I lived out of his way when I couldn't afford to see him, and just spend, I mean, I was very blessed, probably because I had something that was genuine and natural, but it's been an integration of a lot of people, and it's not meant to disregard anybody, but it's almost a blur. But the key that you have to realize is whoever your mentor was, you shouldn't stop at that. You should never antiquate that mentor, but build on it. You grow or die. You add value or you take, and you can't grow if you don't constantly open up to new influences and new perspectives. With the family, that's a problem. I'm on my third marriage, and I'm not saying it with pride. I have wonderful children. I love them dearly, but I used to be an incessant servant. I cared more about the businesses than they did, and I would spend, till when I was younger and had the energy, 3, 4 in the morning worrying about them. Now, I have I got 7 kids. My kids, most of them are older than most of you. I've got, grandkids, and I try to be balanced, but I've got to tell you, when you understand the inner workings of 400 or 500 industries, and you're obsessed with not seeing people waste time, effort, and opportunity, it is hard keeping balance. On the other hand, it gives a lot of joy and love. I love making contribution. And I have very nice children. I took my son to Tokyo. I took my kids to the Led Zeppelin reunion in London. I always take 1 or 2 kids when I go to China, when I go to Australia. And I always try to do things for them and with them that shows them your dad cares, gets them a chance to sort of see the underbelly and the good and the bad. But I have a lot of room for improvement. But I've been blessed, and I would say to you all, don't stop with whoever your current mentors are. And I'm not saying don't get everything you can for lifetime from them, but keep opening yourself. What I would say about, and you said something I was going to make, not a disruptive intervention, but I've learned the most from the people outside whatever industry I was looking at. And if you look at how great breakthroughs occur, they come from forcing yourself to study that and to be interested in that which is not your comfort zone. I always, like when we used to do our seminars, it was hilarious. We'd go to bookstores, we'd buy all the closeout books and magazines on nonfiction. And we would go in the audience and say, okay, like, what's your hobby? If your hobby was crocheting, I'd give you a book on motorcycles. If yours was motorcycles, you'd get scrapbooking. And I'd make people go for 3 hours that evening and read either the entire book or 3 or 4 articles and chapters and come back and report something absolutely fascinating that they'd learned about it that had an application. Because my life has demonstrated that the greatest breakthroughs, the greatest power comes from opening yourself to everything, not just one thing. But I'm going to stop just because my voice is gone. So these guys are very impressive. I have had nothing but admiration and respect for what they were trying to do, their authenticity, and their execution. And I'm very proud to be able to watch this. You guys are very quality people. I'm done with my contribution to you all, but I hope it has had value. I pride myself on not doing what people expect, because anybody can entertain you. What you want someone to do is provoke you to think differently, deeply, reflectively, and on a residual basis, and come to conclusions. Can confirm your current belief, can change it. But it's been my pleasure, and I thank you guys for letting me share it with you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys. Okay, bye. Thank
We are. 7:30? Yeah, I think so. There you go. Huh? Let me do it. All right. So, one last opportunity. One of the things that we realized, and really one of the things it's going to take for us to accomplish our goals and the vision for us, and what we think can happen in this industry, what we know can happen in this industry, is it's going to take more than what we currently are offering. And one of the biggest challenges that we have currently is with our elite level. We have 2 coaches. That's it. So once it's full, it's full. And we wanted to create a place because we do the best we can to learn as much as we can from other people in the industry and outside the industry and everything else. But we wanted to create a place where you guys that are ready, and I don't know who all that is and that are in the room, but the opportunity to have a mastermind, because we've invested in masterminds really in the first time in the last few years. We haven't ever done this. We haven't ever offered a level like this, but we want someone to help us that are kind of beta testers of the new ideas, the new things that we pioneer. We're the ones that only test them, and then you guys see them, and the elites basically are the ones that see everything first. But we wanted to create a mastermind. It's going to be for a small group of people. And it's going to be, there's a couple of bonuses for this, just because we want this level of person to be able to be in the book that Nick Nanton did. So the first people that are in Mastermind are going to be guaranteed in the book. Then we'll move down from there. Actually, I think that's quite sold out at this point. So